of you, every one of you. This morning we're going to talk about releasing life from within. Unity was originally founded as a healing movement. Started with Myrtle Fillmore's healing. So every once in a while we've got to talk about healing. Releasing life from within. Life is one of the building blocks of your soul. One of the basic energy building blocks of your soul is life. But it's source life. It's divine life. We have a tendency to think of life as that thing that's moving around in our bodies. And in a sense it is, but it's a pale reflection of the life of your soul, okay? So when we talk about concentrating on life, we're not talking about that which is in your body, that can get sick, injured, or die, or create pain. We're talking about a life that's unstoppable, that never gets sick, never dies. Remember the Jurassic Park movie, Life Will Find a Way? Well, it's that kind of thing. Nothing can stop it. And that's the life in your soul. Eternal life. Okay? Now, healing happens when we touch the soul. And unleashed from the soul is this perfect life. And when you unleash just a little bit through a body, it does amazing things within all the cells. And we call that healing. Now the problem is that we tend to spend much of our lives trying to put healing into our bodies, okay? If I eat the right things, if I do what the doctor says, if I do this and do that and do the other, I will finally put healing back into my body. And healing doesn't really work that way. It isn't something you put in. It's something you draw out. It's a gift of the soul to the outer being. Okay? And so when we search for healing, we're not searching to put something in. We're going to the very center of our being and allowing something that is very natural, because your soul is divine life, allowing that to be unleashed into the body to create a harmony, a vitality, a well-being within this passing physical entity. So, when you're looking for healing, you need to be looking within, not outside. Now, I'm not saying we won't do things in the outer life. We will, and I'll get to that in a minute. But John 15:11, it is not what enters into the mouth which defiles a man, but what comes out of the mouth that is what defiles a man. He was actually dealing with Pharisees who were trying to say, oh, you can't eat something you had to follow the rules of eating. Your disciples were gathering some food, bad deal, And he's saying, come on, you're paying attention to the outer. It's what comes out. It's what radiates out of you that matters. And the same is true in healing. It's not what you put in. Though you may follow the rules of eating that are out there and put in healthy food and so forth, that is not where healing comes from. That can show your commitment to health, but healing comes from your soul. It comes from something deep down inside of you. It comes from a place where life goes on forever. It was before, it will be after. Cannot be sick. And that's what we want to touch for healing. In John 4:13 through 14, Jesus said, this is the woman at the well, right? He's asked her for water, and she's a Samaritan. She says, you're a Jew. What are you doing asking me for, I'm going to touch your water? Et cetera. All the weird rules they had. And after a little bit of an encounter, Jesus says this. Jesus said, everyone who drinks of this water will thirst again. But whoever drinks of the water which I give him shall never thirst. But the same water which I give him shall become in him a well of water springing up to life everlasting. Okay, this is what we're talking about touching. That inner spring of life. Perfect life. The kind that just a little bit can do phenomenal things in a body. That life everlasting. Now, one of the points I want to make is that we may need to choose a new word when we're seeking healing, There's an interesting thing about the word healing. Innate in that word is the acceptance that there's something wrong, right? You actually have to say, my body needs healing. Well, needing healing is not a good thing. It means something's not right, okay? And so within that word, occasionally we get stuck on what we're trying to get beyond. It was intriguing. If you've been around very long, you know that I spent 7 years working on my heart. I was a head person, so it took a while. But I wanted to awaken awareness of these energies, and these energies that are basic soul energies had been just phenomenal, the energies that flow through the heart. And working with love and joy and things like that, and learning to resurrect them on command. If you want, you can feel joy from within. You don't need things to go right. You can just feel it. It can just rise inside of you. And so after I was done doing this, I said, I need to work with another one of these basic building blocks of the soul. I need to work with a basic energy. And I said, I want to work with healing life. And so I'm working with healing life, and I'm finding it kind of harder than it did. Heart is so dynamic. It awakens easily. Okay. Now, I spent 7 years on the heart, so I'm not sure what I mean when I say this was harder. But in any case, at one point I had a conversation with a friend of mine, a very dear friend of mine named Lois Webb. She had gone through ministerial school with me. Let's put it this way, she had a son about my age, but we had connected very strongly, and we would talk occasionally and so forth, back and forth. And so I'm talking with Lois about where I'm working spiritually right now, and I said, I'm trying to work with healing life, and I'm having a hard time feeling this one. I'm having a hard time getting there. I'm trying to figure out, I know I can isolate an energy, and I can feel what that spiritual energy is like because I've done it with other things. I want to do it with life. And I've been affirming healing life. And she said, you might want to use another word. I said, what do you mean? She said, why don't you try vitality? I went, oh. Vitality is one of those words that doesn't have a downside. It's not talking about what's wrong. Not talking about fixing something that's wrong. It is a true commitment to health, to life. And so I started working with it, vitality. Say, ooh, I actually like the sound of that word. It's got energy to it. That's what you're after, is energy. So in the vitality, let's do it together. Vitality. And then you stop and you feel within, because you're calling to something within. Vitality. Again, vitality. Can you feel a little bit of a surge? We're going to do it again. Vitality. One more time. Vitality. Feel something coming alive in you? Okay. Now, there are other words too. I mean, there's vitality, vigor, vim, energy, well-being, alive. Just saying I'm alive. Generally, there's energy goes with that one. And in fact, the choir is taunting me. They have told me they're going to sing alive at the service I can't come to because I have to go do a memorial service in Daytona. But, at the All Souls service, they're going to sing alive. And then if you can do anything but be alive when Reg plays his pipes. Alive. Say that one with me. Alive. I am alive. Together. I am alive. I'm alive with the life of God. Together. I'm alive with the life of God. Can you begin to feel something? Every time you say it, you listen within. You're calling within and you're listening with your feeling nature, with your heart for response. Proverbs 17:22. A merry heart makes a body healthy, but a broken spirit dries up the bones. Could you be more graphic? It's true. So here's the deal. Opening your heart and enjoying life fully is the key to healing. Often when we don't feel good, we want to close down from life. But in the end, if you realize your heart is the portal to your soul, not your mind. Your heart's the portal that leads directly to the soul. The feeling nature. And if you want to be healed, you're healed through the heart. This is where the soul unleashes its life into the body. And it comes out as joy, or at least it generates joy when it flows. So, one of the real steps, rather than pulling in and saying, I wish I weren't alive, if you're actually reaching for healing, you want to keep that heart as open as possible so that divine life, that life of your soul, can flow in a larger sense. The only reason you're alive is because divine life flows through you, but we cut it down kind of to a trickle. Just enough to keep us going, right? And when you're wanting healing, you're wanting to open the door a little wider and let a little more of the joy of the Lord flow through you, a little more of that joy that life generates. So you start by really enjoying life. You can withdraw. I withdraw all the time because I don't like people around me when I'm not feeling well, because then I'm off duty if they aren't there. If they're there, I'm on duty. That's just the way life is for me. Okay? It's okay to be alone as long as you realize I am never alone, for the Father is with me. As long as you are immersed in this openness to life. You don't unembrace life. You just step back from people for a little while, which may represent responsibility to you. Now, other people love to have people around when they're sick, so everybody's a little different in what they want. You can do it any way you like. But no matter what you do, you keep it open, you want joy to flow in your life. Because healing comes out of joy, not out of willpower. It comes out of love and joy. In John 2:19 and 21, Jesus said, tear down this temple and in 3 days I will raise it up. And it goes on. He spoke concerning the temple of his body. Your body's a temple. Why? It's filled with God life. There really isn't any other kind. I talk about human life, which is a watered-down reflection of it, but any way you cut it, life is life. Okay? Life is sacred. And part of healing is to recognize this as a temple and make some type of commitment to the fact that you're going to cleanse the temple a little bit, you know. Where are we? Clear out the negativity. We store an awful lot in our bodies. Our anger, our resentment, our sadness. There was one time, a very long time ago, when I basically went through 3 years of depression after losing a marriage. It took me 10 years to recover from what that did to my body. It's amazing what putting that type of stuff in your body. And when I arrived at the psychic, he turned and at the end and told me, he says, you need more joy in your life. And I thought, tell me something I don't know. Joy heals. But more than anything, what we want to do is make a commitment. If we're reaching out for healing, declare your body as holy ground, belonging to God, and treat it that way. If you make your body holy, it's a wonderful receptacle for divine life, which is what healing's all about, going beyond the human perception of life. And one of the ways you might declare the holiness of your body is that the Holy Spirit just flow through you and clear away any darkness, any blockage, anything that is not in harmony. Now, I've been going through a bunch of little points here. I've kind of been jumping all over the place. We're going to hit one more. In John 9, 6 through 7, Jesus spat on the ground and mixed clay with his saliva, and he placed it on the eyes of the blind man. And then he said to him, go and wash in the baptismal pool of Siloam. He went and he washed and he came seeing. Now, there's been a lot of discussion over the years as to why he didn't say, you're healed, and that was that. This guy needed to participate in the healing. He needed to show some commitment to his healing, or else he was just working against it. You know, his unbelief, et cetera, was kind of working against everything. You know, I don't know, you know, et cetera. And sometimes when we're seeking healing, this is where we do outer things. This is where we make that commitment to health. Number 5, we need to participate in living in health while knowing the healing energy is released from within my soul. Now, for this, I have to go back to something I've quoted over and over. When I first came to this church years and years ago, there was a woman who came up to me. She'd written a book about her experience, but she'd had a complete healing of 4th stage breast cancer. Now, what is intriguing is, when I heard her story of how it kind of went down, she went in and had this, she went in inside, okay? She went inside and had this communion with God and realized she was healed. Now, her body didn't show it yet, and the doctor still told her she had cancer and so forth. But she had this realization that she was healed. Now, it didn't stop there. When she came out, she went ahead and did a number of things. She did some very intensive cleanses. She ate a really healthy diet. She did all these things that people would say were the things you were to do to heal yourself. But she did them. She said, I knew that wasn't what was going to heal me. I did that as my commitment to health, to show I'm on the team. You know, I am committed to health. And I am willing to put good things into my body. I'm willing to cleanse out toxins. I'm willing to do all of that, knowing that's not what's going to heal me. What's going to heal me is that divine life within. Okay? But that's my little chip I contribute to the pot. Okay? That shows my commitment. And Jesus, in this one instance, saw this guy needs to make a commitment. So he gets the clay, and he gets to make it across town and throw himself in the pool and wash the clay off. And none of that had anything to do with his healing, except it expressed his commitment to being healed. Okay? Which in the end was quite important. I have one more piece I want to add to this. And we're going to do that one with Matthew 9:29. Jesus touched their eyes, a couple of blind people again, touched their eyes and said, "Let it be done unto you according to your faith." Here it is. Go within and touch the divine life of your soul. Then know that life is being unleashed throughout your body. Know you're being healed. What you know is the most important thing in your life. This is faith. Every time I talk about it, I say faith is not thinking it is so. Faith is not even believing it is so. That's the first step. Faith is knowing. A friend years ago who was healed of 4th-stage breast cancer, her story was kind of intriguing. She said, here I am doing all my health work, but I'm also, like just going about life. I know I'm being healed. And she said, people would come up to me and say, so compassionately, how are you doing? And she'd look at them like they were nuts. She said, I literally forgot I had cancer. And so I'd like, what are they talking about now? And then suddenly she'd say, oh, that's right. They think I'm sick. Well, the doctor thought she